right here, and 329-1899 is the number you need for that one. And then we also have a couple interviews I did down at the track at Dornblazer Field today. Erica McLeod, a champion again. Congratulations to her. One of my all-time favorite athletes I've covered at the University of Montana. I just think she's a ferocious competitor. That was her 5th individual Big Sky Conference championship. She's won the indoor pentathlon 3 times, the outdoor heptathlon 2 more times, including today. So congratulations to the Butte High product, Erica McLeod. So we'll hear from Erica as well as Montana head coach Brian Schwein. In the third segment, got the second edition of the sports update from a chick who doesn't know about sports. Carolyn Bechta, one of our sales reps here at Missoula Broadcasting, she came up with this funny idea, and we're really enjoying it. Ryan did one with her last week when I was not here, and I did one with her this week. And it's funny, it's entertaining, but it's also poignant, it's apt, and she's got some good commentary. It's funny because she thinks she doesn't know about sports, but she brings up some pretty good points, and it's always good to hear it from a female perspective. Hour number 2, as always on Thursday, we will get our Paradise Falls ESPN Roundtable for you. We got Erica McLeod. This was recorded before she became the champion, but still holds some weight and definitely has some perspective to it, along with Hannah Fauser, Missoula Big Sky native, who is the favorite in the hammer throw and potentially could score points in the discus and the shot put here at the Big Sky Conference Outdoor Track and Field Championships this week in Missoula, as well as Morgan Sulcer, a decorated hurdler from Billings Senior, Billings, Montana, and Carly Smedalla, the only junior of the group, the all-time 800-meter record holder at the University of Montana, and definitely one of the favorites in that race. And then at 5:30, stay tuned for this as well, KGEZ's own Anthony Knockrider. He hosts the Knock On Sports up there in Kalispell. Does a great job with that show. But he's got some inside info and some perspective on the sports gambling thing. And we're also probably going to talk to him a little bit about high school prep sports as well, because I want to hear his perspective on that. That's our show outlook. It's brought to us by Lithia Ford of Missoula. And like I said, Sam Herder, Hero Sports is taking on a huge responsibility here. They are covering the FCS on a national level, which is certainly no easy task. And the only other entity that's really tried to do this has been the Sporting News, which then became Stats. And Craig Haley's done a great job with it. But it's just so hard to cover a national entity like the FCS, 120-plus teams, and give everybody equal coverage, but also have knowledge on everybody. But Hero Sports has done a great job. Sam Herder and Brian McLaughlin, they've gone from kind of a startup to now a recognized entity that produces All-American lists that people recognize and produce polls. So he's got some good perspective, certainly. So I can't wait to get into it with him. We recorded this interview yesterday. Sam had a conflict, actually, during this specific show. So we had to record yesterday. But without further ado, here's Sam Herder, Hero Sports. We go now to the Rangich Brothers RV phone line. Welcome in Sam Herder from Hero Sports. Sam, thanks so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show. Number
one reason I wanted to reach out to you is because you just recently wrote this column all about the FCS coaches poll, and that's been something that, in my 14 years covering the FCS, I've always wondered about, because it's only 26 votes, two head coaches from each of the 13 conferences. But it seems as time has progressed, the poll has lost a little bit of its legitimacy. Last year there was some games that made you just really scratch your head, where maybe one team beat another team, and then the team that lost the game remained ranked ahead of the team that won the game. And, people kind of say, okay, polls don't really mean much. But at the FCS level, when you're talking about a playoff selection committee, the committee is looking at both the Stats FCS poll, which is about 158, I think, voters right now, SIDs and various other media people from around the country. But then also the coaches poll goes into it, and it seems like it's just kind of archaic and antiquated. So you wrote this column kind of on Hero Sports, just kind of all about this. So just tell us a little bit more about this column and kind of the origin point of it and some of the impetus for what you wanted to get across.
Yeah, and like you just said, I mean, the coaches poll has had its problems for a number of years now. And it got to a point last season where I had a tweet out or something last year. It said something along the lines of, I'm done tweeting about the coaches poll just because it's, pretty much irrelevant. It lost a lot of its, just a lot of its luster. It seems like no one put a lot of stock in it at all. But then the NCAA released a pretty much a YouTube video that explained how the the criteria and the playoff committee and how basically the 2014 bracket was set. And under one of the data points that's supplied to the playoff committee, it says the coaches poll. And that's really where it started to raise my eyebrows, where, like I said, the coaches poll became irrelevant. No one really cared about it. But now that, the NCAA came out and said, actually, this is the playoff committee does look at this poll and takes it into consideration. That's really where my main issues came into play. And basically my column talked about how the coaches poll needs to improve. And if it doesn't, just take that off the criteria list altogether, because it seems like voters and also the playoff committee, they seem to kind of sway their opinions toward a team that has a more, nationally recognizable brand, like a Jacksonville State. And that's one of my examples is Southeast Missouri State last year beat Jacksonville State by like 21 points. Yet a couple weeks later, Jacksonville State was ranked number 10. Southeast Missouri State was ranked number 24. And both of them, it's not like Southeast Missouri State lost, in a couple coming weeks after. So that was just my main point of, if the coaches poll is going to be really lazy, just don't even give that information to the playoff committee, because that might rub off on the playoff committee. And when it comes to the bubble teams, oftentimes you might see a team that's more recognizable nationally than a team that maybe isn't in the playoffs in recent years. And I think the coaches poll might rub off a little bit in that way on the playoff committee.
What sort of feedback have you got from this column so far?
Yeah, it's all been positive. Honestly, that's usually not the case. Usually there's a good mix, but I haven't seen anyone really disagree with my take on this. It seems like a lot of fans are in agreement that this coaches poll is basically a joke, to be honest. I've seen it get some likes and retweets from, I think one was from an SID, one was from an assistant coach. So I think overall people agree with it. People know the coaches poll needs to improve. And like I said, my main message is just don't even give it to the playoff committee as a criteria, because if you're going to have something that struggles this much, don't let it influence the bracket's integrity.
The FCS polls in general are pretty interesting. The stats poll, obviously the one that most of us in the media look towards as the most legitimate one. And I know a lot of guys that do have votes in the stats poll, and they take it seriously. They definitely pour over the results from each weekend and stuff like that. But the FCS is such a far-flung division, and the fact that there's so many teams in the Eastern and Central time zones and hardly any in the Mountain and Pacific time zones, a lot of times it's skewed. And I've talked with, out here in Big Sky Country, when Montana State, Eastern Washington are good, the Big Sky Conference gets a ton of respect in the polls. But then in recent years, DeMario Warren at Southern Utah, he's talked to me pretty extensively about how when Southern Utah is the best in the Big Sky, which they have been. I mean, they won the league 2 out of 3 years leading up to last season. And when they are the top team in the Big Sky Conference, it makes the national perception of the league down, because Southern Utah doesn't have that national recognition. Even though people that cover the league, they know that, that run that Ed Lamb went on his last couple of years, and then handing the reins to DeMario Warren, they had multiple NFL guys and really good players, but they had a hard time ever even cracking the top 15. They had to go on the road for the first round of the playoffs against Sam Houston State, despite being the outright Big Sky champions following the 2015 season. So it seems like what you're saying is it is a little bit prevalent, not only in the coaches poll, but on the national stage as well, especially when you're talking about out west. Some of the teams with the name recognition sometimes seem to get the benefit of the doubt, but when it's kind of a new face to the table, so to speak, it seems like they don't. So what do you think just in general of the polls and the influence they have on a national level, and sort of the unbalanced level of exposure maybe when you're talking about maybe teams that don't have that Jacksonville State or that North Dakota State or that Montana State name recognition when they're trying to kind of break into those polls, because it is important when you're talking about the playoff picture.
Right, and I've been ripping on the coaches poll, and the stats poll I think is much better. The media poll I think is much better than the coaches poll, but that poll has its struggles as well. And really any type of top 25 poll, power poll, whether it's in college football, college basketball, NBA, there's always going to be struggles with it. There's no such thing as a perfect poll, but like you said, it's tough because the FCS, there's not a lot of people that cover the FCS on a national scale. Brian McLaughlin and I from Hero Sports do it. Craig Haley from Stats does a fantastic job of paying attention to the FCS level as a whole. But, I like the stats poll because it has, north of 125 voters, a good mix of media members and SIDs. But there's probably a lot of beat writers on the East Coast that aren't necessarily paying attention to what's going on in the Big Sky, and vice versa. There's probably, some Big Sky SIDs that aren't really paying attention to what Duquesne is doing and stuff like that. And, I mean, Duquesne kicked the crap out of Towson in the playoffs. And in the final poll, Towson was one spot ahead of Duquesne in the final top 25 poll. And so I don't know where you can improve with that. I mean, with the FBS obviously has a number of guys that pay attention and cover the whole subdivision as a whole, where the FCS, that's just not the case. So, there's probably never going to be a perfect FCS poll. Going to your point, UC Davis was kind of the prime example last year, where they're at one point they were 6-1, had an FBS win. That one loss was against FBS number 9 Stanford, and it took forever for UC Davis to crack the top 10, just because UC Davis was a team that up until last year never made the playoffs. So there were probably voters from the Southland Conference and from the CAA saying, all right, who exactly is UC Davis? They have a good record, put up a lot of big numbers, but that name recognition doesn't really stand out to me. So we'll stick them at number 15 when they should have been in the top 10 a lot earlier. So it is a national recognition thing. Where obviously the Montana schools have a lot of recognition. Weber State is starting to get that recognition now. Like you said, a couple of years ago, Southern Utah didn't have that name recognition, so it took them a while, to get to where they belonged in the poll. So I just don't know if there's an easy fix to it, but, the hope is that, if more people have their opinions about polls and how they need to improve, maybe voters will spend a little extra time on Sundays or Mondays, watching games or, getting more in touch with what's going on around the country.
Joining us on the Rangich Brothers RV Hotline, Sam Herder. He's the FCS analyst for Hero Sports. And Sam, you mentioned not a lot of people covering the FCS on a national level. We're Skyline Sports that I run. We're kind of the only entity that covers even the Big Sky Conference on a league-wide level. And what you just described is so accurate. I watch every Big Sky game every single week, and I check in on the CAA and certainly the Missouri Valley. I try to watch the premier matchups in that league as well, but I'm never watching the American East or the Patriot League or some of these other conferences until the playoffs roll around. So it is kind of far flung. But you guys at Hero Sports, you guys are doing a great job right now with giving a national spotlight to the FCS across the board. You and Brian McLaughlin have done a ton of coverage highlighting athletes and teams from coast to coast. Every team in the FCS gets a little bit of love. Every conference certainly gets a lot of love. So tell us just about it. I know that you're living in Fargo right now. That's where you're broadcasting this interview from. But tell us just about being a part of this and what sort of you guys have accomplished so far, but also what sort of your vision is for what Hero Sports can become.
Yeah, I mean, Hero Sports has really grown into being one of the go-to sites for FCS fans. Brian McLaughlin has been working full-time for Hero Sports. I think his first year was back in 2015, and at that point, no one really knew who Hero Sports was. Brian, it was hard for Brian to get interview requests, with coaches. And now fast forward, a lot of teams, the majority of the teams, recognize our preseason polls, our All-American teams, retweet all of our stuff, share our stuff. We talk to head coaches and players, NFL draft prospects every week. So we've really grown, and, the hope is obviously to continue growing and, getting more fans, coming to our site. For their FCS news. And this summer, we have plans again. Last year was my first time working full-time for Hero Sports. Before that, I was just a contributor. But now with two full-time guys covering the FCS with Hero Sports, Brian and I are really excited about some of our summer plans. We're going to preview every single team. I think there's 126 teams in the FCS during the 2019 season, so we're going to preview every single one of those teams 2 times a day from June 1st to August 1st. And something that I'm starting, I believe the first day is going to be May 17th, is I'm doing a 99-1 jersey countdown to the FCS kickoff game, where basically I say, all right, there's 99 games until the kickoff game. Here's the best player to wear number 99. There's, all the way down to number 1. There's 20 days left. Here's the best player to wear number 20. So it's something I did last summer. It was well received. Obviously, it was, some other players wishing they were the best 85 overall and stuff like that. So it gets people talking. It gets people knowing some of the names that are some of the best returning players out there. So a lot of big summer plans, and honestly, summer is probably just as busy for us as the season because it's a lot of research, a lot of writing, a lot of reaching out to coaches and SIDs, just to make sure this guy isn't injured or this guy is coming back and stuff like that. So, yeah, really excited for our summer plans coming up here.
When you are making a list like that, I know you had a tweet the other day that was saying you have over 650 players in a database to kind of analyze guys, but what are some of the determining factors? I know some guys are probably no-brainers. Like I can't imagine there's a better number 15 in the country than Troy Anderson of Montana State, but also there's probably a ton of guys that wear, like, say, number 85 that are fantastic, maybe even All-American caliber players. So when you're kind of slicing and dicing it, what are some of the things you look at?
Yeah, so it's how I get every player is usually I go through every single all-conference team from all 13 conferences, from the first team all-conference to the honorable mention. And I basically take every single guy that's not a returning senior, and I put that in my database. Of course, I have to go through each player that had a season-ending injury, like a Rashad Robinson, obviously from James Madison, guys who aren't going to pop up on those all-conference teams because they had season-ending injuries. There's a number of guys that go on there. And I also go through Kevin Cassis, for example, from Montana State. I don't believe he was on any all-conference teams, but yet he still put up some pretty big numbers. So those are the type of guys I dig into too. As far as making sure I have every single player that should at least be considered for the best player at each position. And it's obviously you have to produce. You have to put up big numbers, but I'm not just going to rely on, okay, this receiver had 200 more yards than this receiver. He gets the nod. It's also, how they've produced over, not just last year, but previous years. I look at their resume as far as, maybe they're a 3-time all-conference player or a 2-time All-American or a freshman All-American. So it's not just numbers-based. It's how many games they've started, how much they've produced over the years, how the other conference teams and coaches, honor them with first or second team awards and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I break it down. Obviously, there's a lot of really, really good number 5s out there in the FCS. Just because I pick one guy doesn't mean everyone else sucks. That was what my tweet said is, let's not be too greedy. Let's not be too greedy here. There's a lot of great FCS football players out there. But so it's really hard to narrow down just to one guy. But, usually I try to make my best judgment on that.
Sam Herder joining us on the Rangich Brothers RV Hotline. He is the FCS analyst for Hero Sports. You can find his stuff at herosports.com. Sam, got to ask you a little bit about the Missouri Valley and specifically about North Dakota State, because you're a guy, you went to North Dakota State, started your journalism career there. Now you've been in Fargo for the last handful of years. I actually saw you at the National Championship game where we were both kind of running in different directions, so I didn't get a chance to meet you in person. But the North Dakota State run, I went to Frisco, Texas because Eastern Washington in the National Championship game, and that's obviously part of our niche for Skyline Sports. But I also just wanted to see the coronation of one of the great runs in the history of college athletics. And it seemed like, I've followed NDSU very closely since this run started because there has been so much crossover with the Big Sky, from the playoff win in Bozeman in 2010 that kind of started this whole run, all the way through the epic game against Montana to open the regular season in 2015, and the fact that they played the Cats and the Grizz and other teams from the Big Sky both in the regular season and in the postseason. So very familiar with what North Dakota State's done, but to me, watching that national championship game, watching Easton Stick punch it in and get that last ring, and just the way that group of seniors finished, it was a very special moment, and it was cool to be there front and center, especially with the fact that Chris Kleiman was leaving, moving on to Kansas State. But it seems like that was the end of a chapter. I don't know if it's the end of a book yet, though, and that's my question for you. North Dakota State loses this incredibly decorated class led by Easton Stick, but also highlighted by a bunch of tremendous players. Robbie Grimsley, I don't know if he ever missed a start at North Dakota State, and on down the line, Darius Shepard and all these big-name players. And so where do you think the Bison are at? What is the thing that maybe is going to stop this run, and will we see that this year, or is it going to just be status quo, everything we've seen during this decade, just more NDSU domination?
Yeah, I don't think NDSU is going to win the national championship this season. It seems in the years past, it's usually will you take NDSU or the field, and that seems like such a ridiculous question because there's so many teams in the FCS, so that's the kind of run that NDSU has been on. But yeah, I feel pretty comfortable taking the field over NDSU this year. But like you said, the string of national championships is probably going to come to an end this year. But I still think NDSU is probably going to win at least 2 more national championships in the next 4 to 5 years. And the reason I think that is the coaching transition has been so smooth with Matt Entz, the former defensive coordinator. He's now the head coach. He's bringing back a lot more assistant coaches than Chris Kleiman did back in 2014. But just the level of recruiting classes that they're bringing in, I think the 2016, 2017, 2018 recruiting classes for NDSU are stronger than the 2012, 2013, 2014 recruiting classes. Because with the number of successes they've had with Carson Wentz getting drafted, they're kind of bringing in that next level athlete. In the past, they didn't out-recruit or win any recruiting battles against FBS teams. Now we're seeing that, a lot more often. So I don't think this run with NDSU is going to fall off a cliff. I do think they're going to have a down year this year. When I say a down year, I'm thinking, maybe a trip to the semifinals or the quarterfinals, potentially
right.
A trip to Frisco. But, that's a down year for NDSU. But I don't think, this is a year for NDSU. And, you mentioned that, with Chris Kleiman going out on top, the all-time winningest quarterback going out on top. A lot of people compared the 2018 Bison to the 2013 Bison. Just with the head coaching move, all those seniors and all that type of stuff. And a lot of Bison fans now are comparing the 2019 team to the 2014 team, saying, NDSU has done it before. They're going to reload, not going to be a problem. And I always say, well, yeah, but Carson Wentz came on board in 2014. I mean, that's kind of the big difference between this year and 2014. As NDSU had a very experienced defense back in 2014, and Carson Wentz took over the reins, and Carson Wentz was better than Brock Jensen. I mean, this year, no one really knows who the starting quarterback is going to be. It's either going to be a redshirt freshman or a junior transfer from Iowa State. And the defense loses a lot of experience. So, I don't buy NDSU did it in 2014. They can do it again in 2019. I don't necessarily buy that argument. So, yeah, I mean, again, NDSU is going to be a really good team. They're going to be top 3 to top 5 team. But I don't think it's going to be NDSU 15-0, beating the crap out of playoff teams. I think the field is going to even up here in 2019.
Well, that's probably welcome news for some, but maybe disheartening news for others. Last question for you, Sam. We'll get you out of here on this. Have you got a chance to look at the Big Sky Conference? And if so, how would you handicap the Big Sky Conference race? It seems like the fact that now Jay Hill going into year 6 at Weber State and Dan Hawkins got to roll a little bit at UC Davis, and then the assumed reemergence of both the Montana schools and the fact that Eastern Washington's coming off a national championship berth, it seems like the Big Sky has a chance to refortify itself as one of the best leagues in the country, right alongside the Missouri Valley and the CAA. So just what are your thoughts on the Big Sky early on, and who are some of your teams and players to watch?
Yeah, I mean, the Big Sky is it's a challenge because when trying to figure out where people are going to finish, where teams are going to finish in the conference standings, you have to take the schedules, into consideration because there is that imbalance there. I am really high on UC Davis. I like what they have coming back. They essentially have their entire offense coming back, except for, of course, Keelan Doss, the NFL wide receiver. But I really like that offense. Defense has some talent, but needs some work. But I really like UC Davis and, just kind of the growth that program has had in such a short amount of time under Coach Hawkins. Eastern Washington is going to be right there as well. I don't know if I'm ready to pull the trigger just yet on the Eagles returning to Frisco, but they gained some of those younger players gained a ton of valuable experience in the playoff run there. Weber State isn't going to be going anywhere. I think that's a really strong program, and Montana State too. Just with how the Big Sky schedule, shakes out for Montana State, I think the only playoff team from last year they face is going to be UC Davis. So they avoid Weber, they avoid Eastern Washington. I believe that's correct. But just with the number of returning starters, the number of just the level of talent that Montana State has coming back, I really think they're going to be toward that top 4 to top 3 the Big Sky Conference and ready to make that next jump. As a program. And then after that, I think Montana is on the rise. Southern Utah seems like one year they're bad, one year they're good. So, Southern Utah might have a bounce back year this year. I think Idaho has a chance to get a little better. Idaho State had some success last year. Northern Arizona always seems to be up and down as well. So, yeah, just like you said, the level of depth that the Big Sky Conference has, I think it's certainly going to be one of the more competitive and one of the more better conferences in the FCS this year.
Sam Herder, Hero Sports. Sam, tell people, how can they follow you? How can they get all your coverage?
Yeah, our website is herosports.com. You can go on there to check out all of our summer preview stuff on the FCS. And I'm on Twitter. My handle is @SamHerderFCS.
Most excellent. We appreciate you joining us. Sam Herder on the Rangich Brothers RV Hotline. Thanks so much for being with us, Sam.
Thank you.
There you go, Sam Herder, Hero Sports. Great interview. Enjoyed talking to Sam. Hey, we're going to get into Erica McLeod winning a championship in the Big Sky, but first got to tell you a little bit about Coeur d'Alene Resort. We had a great day over there over Easter weekend. Brian Tutel and I, we played the spectacular course. It's in immaculate condition. I'm sure it's even better now that we've got some sunshine, but it was in great shape even back then in mid-April. Course layout is tremendous, really, really unique. They got a stretch of 3 par 3s and 4 holes. They're all elevated with the lake in the background, about as picturesque as you could ever imagine. And, of course, they have the floating green with some of the coolest features you'll ever see. It's the world's only floating green. It's environmentally friendly. They move it in and out, so sometimes it might be a 9-iron, sometimes it might be a 7-iron, sometimes it might be a 6-iron. But no matter what, it's a challenge. And if you hit it up there, you hit it on the green, they get a little certificate on the way back because you got to take a boat across the lake to get there. Super cool course. You get a caddy. It's very professional. You don't have to ever look for your ball. They got you completely covered. The driving range, the balls float in the lake. You hit them into the lake, which is super cool. So it's a great place, and it's only 2 hours away. So go check out the Coeur d'Alene Resort there, Coeur d'Alene Golf Course and Coeur d'Alene Resort. It's a great place to stay. It's a great place to play. CDA. Well, welcome to the latest edition of the ESPN Roundtable. This is Colter Nuanez.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes, too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River.
This Mother's Day, treat the Montana mom in your life to the Montana Club's famous Mother's Day buffet. She'll be dazzled as she savors everything from slow-roasted prime rib and glazed ham to fresh berry crepes and lemon bars. If mom wants to sleep in, bring her in later for our artfully crafted Mother's Day dinner specials like brandy peppercorn filet and steak and Maine lobster tail. Mother's Day buffet 8 to 2, followed by Mother's Day dinner specials 3 to close. The Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Les Schwab is proud to introduce 2 of our best tires ever, just in time for summer. There's our exclusive Reputation, a high-mileage premium passenger tire we believe has the quietest, most comfortable ride ever. Or our exceptionally quiet and smooth all-season traction tire, the Open Range AT. Get $50 off alignment when you purchase a set of 4 Open Range AT or Reputation tires. Book an appointment today at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires. Doing the right thing matters. Cannot be combined with other offers. Limited time only. See details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
Hey folks, Ryan Tutel here, and I'm with Josh from the Advocates Injury Attorneys. Josh, if our listeners have been injured in an accident, how can you help?
We're here to help you after a car accident by negotiating with insurance companies, recovering lost wages if you have any, and even getting you into a rental car if you need one. Call us today for a free consultation, and we'll get started helping you right away.
If you need help, get a hold of the Advocates. Call Josh at 640-4444 or online at montanaadvocates.com. You deserve an advocate.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Don't worry, I'm here. I'm running, and I'm not fast. In case you missed it, Erica McLeod, she is the repeat champion in the heptathlon. She sewed up her 5th individual Big Sky title today down at the Big Sky Conference Outdoor Track and Field Championships at Dorn Blazer Field. Really impressive performance by her, and we'll hear from her next on Tutel Nuanez. And in case you missed it yesterday, Missoula Osprey, SWX, and ESPN Missoula. We're broadcasting every single Osprey home game, so you can check it out on TV, on the radio, wherever you might be. Missoula Osprey live, all 38 games this summer. Tommy, are you getting into these guys?
Oh, I love this band, man.
Love this band.
Me too.
Are we going to go in Big Sky? Up at Big Sky?
Oh, definitely. I've seen them now twice live.
You have?
And they are unbelievable
oh my God.
live.
If you
man.
want to believe in the soul that resides within a person, you just got to watch these guys. If you hear this guy, you think he looks a lot different than he does, and then you watch him perform.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
He is shameless. He is so soulful. It is amazing.
Picture this voice in your mind, and then just realize that he looks at the exact 180 of what you're picturing.
100%. Poindexter to the max, and he does not care. It is a phenomenal thing. Love St. Paul and the Broken Bones. Tutel Nuanez, 129 ESPN Missoula. Sorry, a little late on the Sports Center there. I was trying to get some stuff caught up, and I don't know, man. I'm rolling solo. I got nobody to keep me accountable. Tommy was supposed to be my accountability buddy. Now he started drinking coffee again in the afternoon. He only lasted 4 days. I don't know what to do. But anyways, we're having a fun time, and the show marches on. If you want to hit us up on Twitter, at 1029 ESPN, that's the station handle. You can also hit us up at Skyline Sports MT or at Coulter_Nuanez, or you can hit him up at Tommy Evans, right? You got a Twitter handle back there, don't you, Tommy?
Yeah, I do, actually.
Great. Twitter's the best. We got some stuff for you because Erica McLeod is a champion once again, and I've talked about her a lot on this show, but I got to say, she is an incredibly special young lady. She is not only so self-aware and introspective and wonderful to talk to every time I've interviewed her, but she is also one of the most ferocious and steely competitors of anybody I've ever covered in my entire life. She is she's unbelievable, man. She's unbelievably good. She just won her 5th Big Sky Individual Championship today, won the heptathlon. It took a valiant effort in the 800 meters at the end to sew up the title, but well-deserved from Erica McLeod. But before we do that, I got another gift card for you for Mother's Day. Soul Skin. They are experts when it comes to facials, waxing, spray tans, and microdermabrasion, which is basically a next-level exfoliation, which I think sounds delightful. I'm not sure, but they tell me it is. But if you want a $100 gift card right now for your mother, give me a call. 329-1899. I got $100 Soul Skin gift card for you and you alone. Give me a call right now, and all you got to do is jump on the radio and tell me why your mother is special to you. So give me a call, 329-1899 for this $100 Soul Skin gift card. Erica McLeod, she was winning by 188 points going into the final event. For those that don't know about the heptathlon, each mark that you notch gets you a certain number of points. Each point total then adds up towards a final point total. And so you don't have to win every event, but each time you do well in an event, it adds to your point total. And Erica McLeod really put some distance between her and her fellow competitors by winning the high jump on yesterday during the first day of the heptathlon. And then today she put even more distance by winning the long jump. And then not so good of a mark in the javelin, just at least by her standards. But she needed to come down the stretch and run a decent time in the 800. She ended up finishing 6th in the heat. And the 2 girls from Idaho State that were the Van Vliet sisters that were nipping at her heels, they both finished in front of her. So it was kind of nip and tuck tense down there before the scores were added up. And then when the scores came out, impressive. Erica McLeod, 5,425 points to win the heptathlon, her 5th individual Big Sky title. Before we hear from Erica McLeod, though, we're going to go to the Rankage Brothers RV hotline. Welcome in Giovanni. Giovanni, how you doing, my brother?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I just want to say that you've been sounding superb
The only thing missing is that Burt Reynolds laugh that I miss so much. Just more of it.
Hey, I love it, man. Appreciate it. You got something nice to say about your mom so we can get you hooked up?
I actually got 2 nice things to say about my mom. So a lot of people know this, but I was actually moved to Montana when I was 8, and so she's actually my aunt she was married to my uncle, and they adopted me. And even after they split up, she stayed being my mom. And I also want to say it is going to be my wife's and I's first Mother's Day, so I also love that she gave me, she gets to be a mom, and that she gave me a lovely daughter. And I love my mom for adopting me and standing by me all these years.
Love it, man. It's great. Awesome. I'm so proud of you. That's awesome. And thanks for giving us a call, man. Enjoy Mother's Day. Thanks for sharing your story. And I hope both moms in your life have a great day.
Thanks.
Gio with the $100 gift card from Soul Skin. Appreciate Soul Skin for being a part of this. Without further ado, Erica McLeod, one of the most decorated athletes in the history of the University of Montana, following her heptathlon win at the Big Sky Outdoor Championships today in Missoula. Erica, when you're coming down the stretch in that 800, what's going through your mind? And was it tense at all when they were kind of announcing the times and the scores, or did you know that you had won?
I got a little nervous because I knew the Idaho girl was in second, and I knew I was good, but I just always kind of have that panic, I think. And so when I was coming down the stretch, I was like, you should have went back there. Now I'm trying to really catch up, but I just tried to close the lead as much as I could and finish it.
Being a Big Sky champion, I know you've done this before, but does this one feel different doing it on your home track?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. I just can't stop thinking about how, even my freshman year here, I knew I was going to take a red shirt, and that was solely based off the fact that we were going to be hosting my 5th year. And so it's crazy how fast it goes, and I'm just so grateful, and I'm so happy to have my family and my friends. And I had some uncles fly in to come watch, and it's just really special, and it's just a different sense of comfort being here and competing. I just felt so much more than confident, just at home.
Coming off the injury, what was your feeling coming into this meet, and when did you know that you were fully healthy and that you could just let it rip?
This outdoor season has been really difficult for me in the sense that I think I almost dwelled on that injury a little too much. I did have to take 6 weeks, but I think I was so focused on having missed those 6 weeks that I didn't really see the marks and times I wanted to in the last few meets. And so truthfully, I think it was Monday, I finally had a good hurdle practice, and I was like, you're good, you're ready to go, and just kind of took that confidence with me throughout the week. And I mean, I felt confident, I felt healthy and fast and poppy even yesterday, and so I was just ready to, I guess, end it all here and leave a good mark more than anything.
Seemed like you really put distance between yourself and the field with the high jump yesterday. Did you feel like that was kind of where you got the gap?
Yeah, and I just felt so good. I mean, like I said, with that injury, I just hadn't been able to do everything and train in the way I'm used to. And even in warm-ups, I felt so good, and it was so amazing. Having our team here, they were so loud, and I think that helped more than anything. And it was special. It was fun, and with high jump especially, I used to hate that event so much. I would dread it getting on the bus, and so it just puts a smile on my face now that it is one of my most favorite ones. I'm going to miss that one a lot.
You touched on how much this win just means for you. Obviously, you touched on being here, but just in general.
I mean, it's huge. It's just so special for me because I really do have the most incredible coaches, and I'm gonna miss them the most, and my teammates. And I mean, it's fun that I've been able to accomplish all this, but truthfully, if I had to put everyone in a room who helped me get to this spot, I mean, it would be full. And so it's just hard for me to not want to acknowledge them, and a piece of me just feels like it's their win too. And so, I mean, it's so special. I'm gonna miss it so much.
On that note, though, 2 days of this meet left, and you guys just scored a bunch of points in this event too. Now you got 13, 14 team points. So what's it take to readjust, and how excited are you for the next 2 days competing with your team now?
Oh, I'm so excited. I mean, I think I'd mentioned with you earlier, my favorite event to do outside the multi is the 4x4, and so we've got a really good shot at that come Saturday. And I think just gearing up, watching the rest of my teammates. I've got long jump tomorrow, and just hopefully holding that momentum and keeping it going throughout the week. There will be some pretty special performances across the board, so I'm really excited.
As Coulter said, 3 of you girls scored in this event, and how much of is this an excitement? I know you've talked about before of just kind of getting things going for the rest of the team going into the next couple days. You guys starting off on a great note.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I've always kind of like tried to remember to tell those guys too, and that they do a great job. They always, Jansen and Drury, they just show up and get it done, and they don't complain, and they've been amazing training partners. But I always have told them, like, we set the tone for the weekend, and so set a good one and give everyone that positive energy and that motivation to carry it throughout the weekend. And so I think we more than accomplished that in these last 2 days.
There you go, Erica McLeod on her recently won Big Sky Conference Heptathlon Championship. Congratulations to her. Brian Schwayne, one of the great decathletes in the history of the Big Sky Conference. He was a 2-time All-American in Montana State. He competed in 2 different United States National Track and Field Championships post-college, and he's been the head coach of the University of Montana for the last 11 years and been a part of the program for almost 20. Here's his thoughts on his recent champion.
So was there any moments of tension there with when they were rolling through the scores, or did you know she had it?
No, I knew she had the championship locked up. What we were looking at was national qualifier. And she still, they take top 24 in the nation. She's sitting 23rd, which is probably not enough to get to nationals because there's still a lot of multis going on right now across the country. But weirder things have happened.
Sure.
So we'll patiently wait and see. You know, there might be bad weather a lot of places. Kids not putting up scores. There might be some injured kids ahead of her. So keep our fingers crossed. But with what she's battled from indoor through outdoor to today, couldn't be more proud of her. It was fantastic to see. And we got 2 other girls with lifetime bests and big scores. And this was, I don't think I've seen happen at the Big Sky Conference with that many people over 5,000 points.
Right.
So it was stiff competition. It was fun to watch, and I think the Big Sky was represented very well here today.
I know you've watched her win 5 of these now, but this one must feel more special given what she's got through and given the
100%. My heart aches for her because we were hoping for a bigger score, but if you go back a month ago from today, this was a miracle.
Yeah, right.
So couldn't be more proud of her. Incredible athlete. Fortunate, and it was an absolute pleasure being able to coach her.
I know when I did it. I know when I interviewed her on Monday, you know, she was ready, but seemed like a little nervous. You know, if I open this thing up, am I going to be healthy? Mm-hmm. But it seemed like after she ran that hurdles race that.
Well, then that started, and that was the race that she has struggled with more outdoor than anything, and that one was going to make or break her mental. And she made it and just started flying from there. And like I said, couldn't be more proud of her, and just goes to show how gutsy she is.
Did you think that the high jump was the place where she got the separation she needed?
Absolutely. You know, and that jump there, it's going to be on the fence to get her to regionals. That last height that she just barely bobbled off would have been a shoo-in for regionals. So that was a PR, and that last height was only a half-inch off the school record. So, yeah, that was a great event for her.
Last question for you. I mean, to get a girl from a Montana high school and teach her things like the high jump and hurdles that she wasn't necessarily familiar with coming in here. It must give you so much pride as a coach that she was able to evolve into what she
The pride I have is just the ability to coach her. Yeah. You know, given the chance to coach her, and you know, she's the one who learned, she's the one who picked everything up, and it was just my pleasure to be able to watch that unfold over 5 years.
Our pleasure to be able to watch Erica McLeod compete. One of my all-time favorite athletes in any sport. Unbelievable competitor. Other news, I had to leave before the men's decathlon was finished, but Brendan Thurber Blazer, who's a sophomore from the University of Montana, he ended up holding off his closest competitors, a no height by Dante Robinson from Portland State in the pole vault, combined with a win in the pole vault and a win in the discus by Thurber Blazer. He scored 7,154 points. As a sophomore, he is the men's Big Sky Conference Outdoor Decathlon champion. So the Montana Grizzlies sweep the multi-events. The Montana women, they scored 14 points because they also pulled in with a 6th and 8th place finish in the event. And the Montana men, they had the 1st and 3rd place finishers in that event. And Wyatt Thompson Saporin from Montana State, he was 2nd. So really good day for multi-athletes in Montana. On the other side, the much anticipated second segment of the sports update from a chick who doesn't know about sports. This is funny. You want to hear this next.
Hey folks, the best season of the year is upon us. That's right, it's tax return season, and there's one place to have the most fun and make that refund check stretch further than anywhere else, Selway Armory. Selway Armory has the largest selection of firearms, ammo, and accessories of anywhere around, and they have the expertise to go with it. It's not everywhere that you can shop local and save money, but Selway Armory will meet or beat any box store price, and your money stays in Montana. It's tax return time, so get more bang for your buck at Selway Armory. Visit online at selwayarmory.com.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
It happens. You're positive you put your bank card back in your wallet, but the next time you need it, it's missing. Avoid the panic and take control with the MyCard app and debit card from Farmer State Bank. Our app lets you control your debit card and securely turn it off right from your phone. Safe, secure, instant. MyCard is available only at Farmer State Bank. Ask about it at any of our 9 locations or learn more at farmersebank.com. Farmer State Bank, member FDIC.
So-called sports bars, you spend so much time fighting to see the TV, you're better off just staying home. Others show the game, but a basket of stale rye chips is not exactly your idea of a good game grub. At the Desperado, you get front row seats to every single spring baseball and NASCAR event, plus all the spring NBA and NHL postseason action. And with juicy burgers, ice-cold brews, and the best wings in town, you'll leave the Desperado satisfied whether your team won or lost. The Desperado Sports Tavern, where the emphasis is sports, food, and good times. On South Russell, across from the Y.
Tutel and Nuanez. Listen to the podcast on the TuneIn Radio app or on iTunes. 1029ESPN.com.
Now they always say congratulations. Work so hard, forgot how to vacation. They ain't never had the dedication.
Tony says he won't play Post Malone for Sean Rainey, but it's still in the mix.
You know, I've given up on everything. What can I say?
No way, dude. You're out back there like producing hit music or something. I don't even know what you're doing.
It's not hit music, and that's why it's cool.
Your skill set blows my mind. I'm still disappointed in you for drinking coffee, though.
Don't care. I don't care. That was the dumbest thing I ever tried to do in my life.
So far this week of Missoula Broadcasting Company, I tried to get 2 of my female coworkers to do a cleanse with me. They both lasted until 11 a.m. Meanwhile, I'm starving to death for 36 straight hours. Feeling great, though. I still feel mentally fresh after that. Tried to get Tommy to give up caffeine with me. Nope, he lasted 3.5 days. I'm just sitting over here by myself, trying to live my best life. Tutel Nuanez 129 ESPN Missoula. Colter Nuanez here. Tutel, Ryan Tutel, that is. He is 7,737 miles away in the Philippines. No idea what he's doing. Haven't talked to him. Don't ever think I'm going to talk to him while he's down there because, Ryan's not really good on the cell phone anyways. And when you're 7,700 miles away, I don't have many expectations. But we're running up against it. So without further ado, the much anticipated second edition of a sports update from a chick who doesn't know about sports, featuring our wonderful coworker, Carolyn. Oh. Well, this is exciting. Second edition of the sports update about sports from a chick who doesn't know sports. We already debated if that's offensive term. We did a Facebook poll. I guess if you're offended by it, I'm sorry. We're just trying to be funny around here. But Carolyn, thank you.
I'm the chick, and I say it's okay.
That's great.
So
See?
It's fine. It's not offensive.
That's all we need. And just like the rest of Tutel Nuanez, this is a completely unscripted, casual show. What do you got? What are you burning on, Carolyn?
Well, since I'm a Chicago girl, the Cubs are top of mind right now. So Addison Russell returned to the Cubs after a 40-game suspension because he violated the league's domestic violence policy, which I'm just curious why there needs to be a policy. I mean, isn't that just common sense not to beat people?
And this is actually a serious topic in the midst of a supposed to be comedic segment, but this is something that Ryan and I talk about a lot because domestic violence is a huge issue in pro sports right now, particularly in the NFL, We've had a lot of star players that have been arrested and then subsequently suspended, but it seems as if when they do their time for their crime, then they're just back in the league, and there's no repercussions for it. And as much as people think it's deplorable, it seems that as long as people still watch it, there is no repercussions for the league as a whole. So, I mean, as a woman, what do you think of this? I mean, this is obviously a very concerning trend.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was pretty annoyed about him coming back, but then I read his statement and I felt like he's in therapy and he's really trying to do better. I'd love to see him volunteering at a shelter or doing more in the community to help other men and teaching them, about abuse and what he's learned about himself with anger. I don't know if the NFL also has a domestic abuse policy.
They do.
They do. So it doesn't seem like, it seems like they get suspended for a game or two and they're right back in there.
It's usually about half of a season in the NFL, sometimes as much as a full year, but it still seems like, I don't know, I'm so curious as to what I actually think of the rehabilitation element of this, because on one hand, I do think that people can be rehabilitated no matter what, but on the other hand, I feel like if you have it within you to commit such an egregious and disgusting act, that I don't really know if you can be rehabilitated. I don't know. If you have that in you, I feel like that's a terrible thing. But on the other hand, maybe someone like Addison Russell does deserve a second chance. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of a one strike and you're out kind of gal. So no pun with the baseball. But I don't know. I mean, I know that I suppose people can be rehabilitated. I'm with you. I don't generally think they can. But that's kind of sad in itself. So he got booed. Not a lot of people are happy that he's back.
Yep.
He played pretty well, apparently. So I guess we'll just see.
Well, he's insanely talented. That's the whole issue here, is that if you are the Cubs and you're running a business where you're trying to make money,
yeah.
If the league's mandated him to come back, you have to have him back because he's one of the best players in the entire league. Okay, we got to be funny now. Give us more. What else? What else are you burning on?
Dennis Rodman robbed a high-end yoga studio in L.A. Apparently, he and a bunch of friends in the middle of the day yesterday walked into a yoga studio, wasted, day drunk, and stole a bunch of clothes. And one of the guys tried to walk out with a crystal vase of some sort, dropped it, and then picked it up and still left with it. It was like $2,500. So, yeah.
The first question is, why is Dennis Rodman stealing anything? Dennis Rodman's a multimillionaire. I mean, maybe not anymore, though. I don't know how Dennis Rodman's life has gone.
Well, not well, clearly.
Right.
I mean, he's 57, by the way.
He said, this is so funny because Dennis Rodman was for sure robbing this store so that he could wear the pants himself.
100%. He likes a bootcut yoga pant for sure.
God. What else we got?
Well, the Beatles aren't the only amazing thing to come out of Liverpool, I'll have you know.
Okay, get some soccer on the show.
So I only know third grade soccer at this point in my life.
Carolyn, big soccer mom. She's really dedicated to her kids' future pursuits. They might play for Liverpool someday.
Oh my God, that would be so cool. Anyway, it looks, I think Barcelona got a little complacent in the game. They were up 3-0, and Liverpool came back and I believe won 4-3. And if you have the chance, watch the outtakes on Google or whatever. It's pretty cool.
All the goals late, right?
Yep, all late. I think two of the goals were made by someone that wasn't even supposed to be in the game, and one was like a sub or something like that. So it was pretty cool to watch.
The shameless plug here, but we were recording a series of podcasts, SkylineSportsMT.com. Andrew Houghton, who works for me at SkylineSportsMT.com, gigantic soccer fan. And while we were recording this podcast, he had the live stream of this up. And every time it wasn't his turn to talk, he was like freaking out, waving his hands all over the place. But he was like, had to be quiet because the microphone was on. So finally, I was like, press pause, and I said, "Bro, what's going on?" He goes, "This Liverpool Barca game is crazy." So you're not the only one.
Did he call it Barcelona?
He did not. No.
Okay,
what are the real diehards called? They call them Barca, I think, something like that.
You know,
Barcelona.
I learned Barcelona in Spanish in high school. So
I love it. What else?
All right, James Harden. I talked a little bit about him last week, about his beard.
Does mine look like James yet?
No.
Okay, good.
You still got some work to do there.
Do you think I need to get it like that?
No. No, it's a little much. I don't know. I mean, you do you.
What are your thoughts on beards?
They're fine.
You're not like, some girls are like so into them.
No, I mean, they're fine.
You're just ambivalent.
They're Fine. Yeah, whatever.
I would look
Give or
terrible
take.
without a beard.
Really? I don't know. I think I've
terrible.
only known you with a beard.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I have a giant head, so I have to
Okay.
figure out how to shield
Offset.
it. Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
So what about James?
Well,
What is he doing?
He got his eyes gouged out last week.
He did.
Sounded like a laceration. Isn't that what you said you had at rec,
I had
rec center?
I had a ruptured choroidal artery as well as 3 tears in my retina and a permanently paralyzed ocular muscle.
Okay, well, James isn't that bad.
It's not that bad, but I do feel for James.
Yeah. So he's just rocking that red eye, and has no shame. I would be wearing an eye patch, but that's just me. He kind of looks like, remember Bob Costas at the Sochi Olympics? Yes. That's what he's looking like right now.
When I was a senior in college, I got my eye poked out of my head, essentially. I had to wear an eye patch for 3 months. In the meantime, I tore my hamstring off the bone. So the spring semester of my senior year of college, I was walking around with a eye patch and a cane.
Wow. Did people think you were like a Broadway dancer?
Or a pirate
Did you have a
or
top
something.
Hat too?
Yeah, no, it wasn't the best time in my life, but there has been a lot of good times.
I think you could have made the best of it and put on some tap shoes maybe. And
I'm not fancy like you.
all right, well.
The second edition of Sports Updates from a chick who doesn't know anything about sports. She knows more about sports than she thinks, people. Those were good. Those were good updates. Thank you.
Thank you.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River.
Alpine Touch is legendary around the state of Montana for providing delicious seasonings for every grilling occasion. Now, Alpine Touch offers so much more, from a savory new barbecue sauce to spicy pepper blends to tasty barbecue rubs. In addition to the classic, Alpine Touch has a variety of seasoning salts for whatever you need to spice up. Now that the holidays are over, Alpine Touch makes a perfect thank you gift to show your friends and relatives you love them. Alpine Touch, available at retail locations around Montana or online at alpinetouch.com. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, ooh, pump it up, pump it up.
You know you need a pick-me-up, and Town Pump has just the thing. Make a quick stop at Town Pump today and grab 3 12-ounce Red Bulls for only $7. Or get any size fountain drink for only $1. Town Pump Food Stores, proud to be part of our community.
Town Pump, right down the road, pump it up, oh yeah.
It's May, and here in Montana, there is plenty to celebrate. Graduations, Mother's Day, Memorial Day, sunshine, and a full summer ahead. For last-minute gifts or just a good stop on a road trip from here to there, be sure to include Florence Coffee Company. We have reloadable gift cards, good travel mugs, and a full menu of delicious drinks. Celebrate May by stopping at any Florence Coffee Company's 19 locations in western Montana or go to florencecoffeeco.com.
Hey folks, Ryan Tutel here, and I'm with Josh of the Advocates Injury Attorneys. Josh, what are people left dealing with after an accident?
Well, quite a few things, actually. We see people that are in pain, they still need to get to work, they need to raise their kids, and now they have to take time to go see doctors and other healthcare providers. They're frustrated with working with the insurance companies and getting the runaround. We'll take on the burden of dealing with the insurance companies so you can get the best settlement possible and get back to your life.
Find your advocate online at montanaadvocates.com. There are a lot of lawyers. You deserve an advocate.
Hey, Tutel Nuanez here. Can't tell you how many times we've heard the face for radio joke since we came on SWX television, but it's been a fun endeavor so far.
And now our esteemed producer Tommy is pushing the envelope even further. We got our own YouTube channel.
That's right. If you want to watch us every day from your computer, your tablet, your cell phone, you can check out Tutel Nuanez on YouTube.
Tutel Nuanez, live every weekday from 4 to 6 in the afternoons on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula, SWX Montana statewide, and now around the planet Earth on YouTube.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good evening. Colter Nuanez, 109 ESPN Missoula. Today at Dorn Blazer Field at the Big Sky Conference Outdoor Track and Field Championships, Erica McLeod posted a 19-foot, 5-inch long jump for the highlight of the day, help herself secure a second straight outdoor heptathlon championship. The championship is the 5th overall Big Sky title for the Butte native during her illustrious Montana career. She now waits to see if she has one of the top 24 marks in the country to advance to the national meet in Eugene, Oregon. On the men's side, the decathlon went to Brendan Thurber Blazer of the University of Montana, a sophomore. His main marks of the day, he threw the disc 133 feet 8 inches for the top mark in the competition, and he also pole vaulted 14 feet 2 inches to secure his first Big Sky title. Wyatt Thompson-Saporin from Montana State, he was just 22 points off the pace with 7,132 points to finish second. Aiden Diggs from the University of Montana, third, and Josh Riley from the Grizz, fourth. So a bunch of scoring for both the men's and women's Grizz teams in the multi-events. On the Montana State side of things, MSU received a $500,000 gift Tuesday to the MSU Track and Field program in honor of former head coach Rob Stark. Stark served as Montana State's men's track and field coach for a quarter century, running the program from 1976 to 2000.
Baby, I'm gonna leave you.
Cannot believe that Robert Plant is coming to Missoula, Montana. I'm
freaking out,
it's
man.
It's mystifying. It's crazy. Of all the concerts that have come here, there's been great mini shows that have come through both Missoula and Bozeman. And Robert Plant at the Kettle House Amphitheater in September, that might top them all. Paul McCartney in Washington Grizzly Stadium was amazing, but and that's coming from a guy who doesn't really even like the Beatles. But Robert Plant, he's like otherworldly to me. What a pull for Kettle House Amphitheater to get Robert Plant to come. Amazing. Tutel Nuanez 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Broadcasted to you live from the Kurtz Polaris Studios. Kurtz Polaris, 2904 West Broadway here in the Garden City, or Highway 83 in Sealy. Go check out all their summer inventory, from their ATVs to their off-road vehicles. You can check it all out on KurtzPolaris.com. If you want to check us out online, 1029ESPN.com. That's where you find the stream. The stream is presented by Opportunity Bank. Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. It's also where you can find the podcast. If you missed anything in the first hour of the show, the podcast is available on TuneIn Radio app, iTunes, Spotify, or on the station website. Just click on the podcast tab. The podcast is available thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. And if you want to give us a call, 329-1899, all guests join us via the Rangich Brothers RV hotline. We march on through my solo endeavor here. Ryan Tutel, he is on the other side of the world. He's in the Philippines for the next 10 days or so, and hope he's doing well, hoping he's enjoying his elongated vacation on the other side of the world. But in the meantime, I'm holding down the ship. Got a little bridge in the days here. I had Sean Rainey in studio the last 3 days from SWX Montana. Tomorrow we got our good buddy Regime Seabrook to come in here, and that'll be fun. I haven't rapped with Regime in a while, so that'll be fun to have him in here. Got a lot of stuff to talk to him about, no doubt. But today I'm flying solo, and because of that, I got a whole bunch of pre-recorded interviews for you guys. The one we're about to play, though, that's not necessarily an oddity as a pre-recorded interview. Every Thursday, 5 to 5:30, we always have our ESPN Roundtable presented by Paradise Falls. And without further ado, the ESPN Roundtable featuring University of Montana women's track and field standouts Hannah Fauser, the favorite in the hammer throw this weekend, as well as Erica McLeod, the recently crowned pentathlon champion. And again, this interview recorded before that championship, so she does talk about preparing for this championship. Morgan Sulcer, a star hurdler out of Billings, and Carly Smedala, the University of Montana school record holder in the 800 meters. The ESPN Roundtable presented by Paradise Falls. Well, welcome to the latest edition of the ESPN Roundtable. This is Colter Nuanez. As always, you can find this podcast at SkylineSportsMT.com. Coming to you for the first time on the ESPN Roundtable solo. Ryan Tutel's done a couple ESPN Roundtables when I've been away. Now, Ryan, he's in the Philippines for the next 2 weeks with his family, so I'll be holding down the fort here at ESPN Missoula, and as always at SkylineSportsMT.com. This week's ESPN Roundtable, presented by Paradise Falls, features a quartet of the finest athletes from the University of Montana, all four members from the University of Montana women's track team, 3 fifth-year seniors as well as a junior. In order of introduction, Hannah Fowler, she's a fifth-year senior thrower out of Missoula Big Sky. Erica McLeod, a fifth-year senior out of Butte, Montana, who is the Big Sky Conference record holder indoors in the pentathlon and will definitely make a run outdoors in the heptathlon, as well as potentially score in the long jump and the hurdles. Morgan Sulcer, fifth-year senior out of Billings Senior, one of the standout hurdlers in the Big Sky Conference. And the lone junior, fourth-year junior Carly Smidala, one of the great 800 runners in the history of the University of Montana, as well as the history of the Big Sky Conference. University of Montana hosts the Big Sky Outdoor Track and Field Championships Wednesday through Saturday. Dorn Blizzard Field, first time UM has hosted the Outdoor Championship since 2008. Should be a display of some of the great athletes throughout the entire region, some of the great athletes in college track, some of the best distance runners you'll see anywhere in the world, coming from northern Arizona, and a variety of standouts in a variety of different disciplines. So go check it out if you have a moment. It's supposed to be beautiful weather, and it's going to be a very competitive meet. The University of Montana women definitely in the mix for the Big Sky Conference Team Championship. ESPN Roundtable presented by Paradise Falls. Paradise Falls, 3621 Brook Street. 30 big screen TVs, 18 draft beers, a brand new menu. Open 7 a.m. to midnight. Paradise Falls, Missoula's coolest hotspot. Here is Hannah Fowler, Erica McLeod, Morgan Sulcer, and Carly Smidala previewing the Big Sky Conference Outdoor Track and Field Championships in Missoula this week. Hello, welcome to the ESPN Roundtable. Colter Nuanez is down at the Montana Champion Center with 4 standout track athletes from the University of Montana women's track team. Girls, I'll just have you go around and introduce yourselves so people can recognize your voices.
Hi, I'm Hannah Fowler.
I'm Erica McLeod.
Morgan Sulcer. Carly Smidala.
So these 4 ladies, all Montana natives, right?
Yep.
And the Big Sky Conference Outdoor Track and Field Championships begin Wednesday here in Missoula. I had Brian Schwain, head coach of the University of Montana track team, on the show last week. And interesting, we were laughing. When I was a junior at the University of Montana, still working for the Montana Kaiman, that was the last time that the championships were here. So it's been forever. I know it's been even delayed in your guys' career because it was maybe supposed to be here last year. But now here you guys are. And Hannah, first started a Missoula native. So what are you feeling right now this week, coming in kind of your last, for sure, guaranteed Big Sky meet in your hometown?
I'm really excited. I think it's going to be really cool coming out, especially I'm a Missoula native, born and raised, went to Big Sky High School, so it's going to be really cool to have family and friends that have either not seen me be able to compete or not seen me compete at this level be able to come out and watch me do what I love to do.
And Erica, the track and field is interesting because you can have your red shirt different times. You chose to take your red shirt so you could delay, kind of train for this year.
Yeah.
So what are your emotions coming into this final event?
Oh, I don't know. It's bittersweet, but I think more than anything, I'm excited to just kind of soak it all in. And kind of like Hannah was saying, I'm from Butte, so like an hour and a half, so I'll have a lot of family and friends hopefully coming down to watch. So just being able to kind of have this last hurrah with all of them is special.
And Morgan, Billings native, fifth-year senior. So tell us, what's this season been like for you, and how do you hope you guys culminate this thing this spring?
Yeah, it's exciting. I know for me personally, and I think these two too, conference being here this coming weekend was a big reason why we did take that red shirt. A lot of us could have been done in 4 and we're probably ready to, but we know that this is a really exciting and a special thing for the whole state of Montana and just the community, and getting some spotlight on track and field and our program. So it's really exciting just to even be a part of it. This season for me has seemed to come together the most, so I'm really excited to hopefully go out with the best year I've had at UM. So we'll see.
Hey Carly, fourth-year junior, right? So you still have another spring left with this?
Yeah, so I'm planning to redshirt next. Well, I'm not really sure yet if I'm going to do indoor, outdoor, but definitely all redshirt for a full year and come back for another.
So competing with these girls, though, for the, last guaranteed time, you guys probably all have chances to move on to the regionals and all that. But what do you anticipate this weekend to be like?
I'm mostly just excited to be able to compete to even be here and to be able to compete with athletes that I dreamed of competing with Erica and Morgan when I was in high school. And so to be able to actually be here and so many other great athletes, I think we're all just excited to finally, like Morgan said, have the spotlight on track and field and be able to do it in our hometown.
I've been covering track in this state for about 10 years, and I remember being at the Class AA state meet in Butte in 2012, and snowing sideways, wind is blowing,
and all these records are falling. I remember the Aragon girl from Billings Senior. I think she broke the 1,600 and 3,200 meters in one day. And I remember thinking to myself, if I was a college coach, I would be recruiting this so hard because there's no way the conditions get worse than this, right? The conditions are going to be better than this almost always anywhere. So, Hannah, just talk about that element. I mean, you got 4 Montana natives sitting right here. It seems like Montana has produced so many good athletes in all sports, but particularly women's track and field. Why do you think that is?
I just think it's because we have a lot of heart here in Montana. We want to work hard. We want to do our best. And, I mean, I think it started really coming along with Lindsay Hall when she was here, and everybody was like, dang, I want to be just like Lindsay Hall. I want to go out there and I want to compete like her. And it's really just kind of like pushed the rest of us, I think, seeing how well she did and how far her career has progressed and being like, I want to do that too. And that's a really cool thing. And I think being a Montana native, seeing Lindsay do the same thing, and I mean, especially for me, I mean, I came from Big Sky and I followed in her footsteps and did the same thing. So that was something like I got to see was her do her career like that. And then like, I want to do that too.
I remember that state meet when Lindsay Hall basically won state by herself. I think she got 5 golds, and she's the same class as my brother at Big Sky.
Yeah.
So I've watched Lindsay compete my whole life. But Eric, I know that that's something that you've kind of looked up to and trained with and alongside and kind of chased in the record holding. You broke her record here in the indoors. So what sort of influence do you think just Lindsay's presence in University of Montana track has had on you?
I think it was huge. I mean, it's kind of funny because I didn't even know what the multi was when I got recruited, and Brian just kind of suggested that I try hurdling my senior year, and I kind of just went from there. But just since being in Montana and being around Lindsay, and she just really did set such a big tone for the multi-events specifically, and I just feel really lucky and grateful, I guess, to have kind of been able to follow in those footsteps and learn from her and just grow from Brian and Adam and progress my own career, and it's been really special for me.
The multis are so interesting. I was talking to Brian Schmidt about this last week. A lot of kids come from small towns, and you might be good at 1 or 2 different things. You might be a good hurler, a good long jumper, but you never thrown a shot in your life, or you never pole vaulted before in your life. Or for you, what was the things that were kind of natural to you before you got to college? What were the challenges of adding some of the other stuff you have to do when you are doing between 5 and 7 events?
I kind of had a little bit of practice with the hurdles. I only did that my senior year, but I picked that up fairly quickly. The one I struggled with the most in college my freshman year was high jump. I don't know, you would think that would be one of the easier ones, but it's one of my favorite ones now, and so it's kind of fun to see everything come full circle like that. But I struggled a lot with high jump, I remember. The throws, I still struggle with. But it's definitely, I think I've got a better mindset going into them. So it's been fun. It's been really fun to learn them all and get better at them. And yeah, I do. I try to kind of treat them all with like a neutral attitude at this point. I don't want to like one more than the other.
In the winter, you made this great run. You break the all-time Big Sky Conference record, break Lindsay Hall's record, but then a late scratch right before nationals. How'd you deal with that? And then how excited are you now to get a chance to compete on the conference level again?
I'd never been injured, and so that was just like a completely new territory for me. And while I was unfortunate, I think it was important for me to kind of navigate through that. And I think it helped me grow as an athlete. It was just a bummer. It did kind of put a standstill on my indoor, and I felt a little behind going into outdoor. But I just learned in my 5 years here, if anything, it's a lot of confidence and just trusting yourself and not doubting yourself. And I've just tried to hold on to that as much as I can and do what I can do. And I feel ready and I feel good to go on Wednesday, and confident that I could hopefully put up a score to progress me into the regionals and hopefully nationals. But I also I'm at peace with however it does end. I feel really lucky to be able to look back and just on the career I've had, and that's more important to me, I think, than anything.
ESPN Roundtable, presented by Paradise Falls, joined by 4 different standout members of the University of Montana women's track team. Morgan,
track and field, it's so much about the repetition, the discipline, but also peaking at the right time. How do you hone that? How do you make sure you do peak at the right time? And do you feel an element of pressure coming into, the final Big Sky Conference championships of your career?
Yeah, I think no matter what, whether it's pressure or excitement or just the realization that this is kind of it, there's always going to be some of those feelings. We here at UM are really, really lucky to have a strength coach and 4 really awesome track and field coaches that have so much experience and knowledge and know exactly what we need to be doing at the right time to make sure that we are peaking. So I think a huge part of that relationship is just the trust and trusting that they know what we need to do and that they also give us the control to do what we need to do to make sure our bodies are ready to compete this weekend and to peak at the right time. So I think we would all agree that we're super lucky to have the knowledge and experience and relationships with our coaches to make sure that we're there and we're ready to go.
How much of it, it seems like it's track and field even more than other sports it's a 24-hour thing, right? It's a way of life. You have to have everything honed in. How hard is that as a college student to balance everything from academics to making sure you have good nutrition to recovery and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. Brian and I were talking about this the other day. It was like in high school, you could put every single piece of your mind, body, effort into track and field because everything else was pretty easy. You were at home, your mom was making dinner for you, school was a lot easier. Then you get to college and it's like, geez, I have to get ready for the rest of my life. And track's still a really important thing and something you want to make sure you're not putting on the back burner, but you have to figure out a good system for yourself and figure out kind of how to balance and where you're going to prioritize. And a lot of times that's cutting out things that might be fun, but maybe not necessary in helping you get to where you want to be. So we're lucky too with the Champion Center and the staff here and kind of our facilities that makes it a lot easier. They take really good care of us here at UM. So.
And Carly, specializing in a race like the 800, there's a lot of crossover in a lot of different events, and a lot of times you might run the 1 and the 2, or you might be a distance person, or there's a variety of hurdles races. It seems like people that run the 800 just run the 800. Why?
I'm sure everyone can answer that question differently. With my background, I kind of came from the more so sprint side of the 800, not like 100, 200, but like 400, sure. 800. And I mean, I feel like it's different for everybody, and so that's fine. But when it comes down to it, I really think that the 800 meters is 99% a mental race. So it doesn't really matter where you came from, how you trained, because there's so many different recipes to have that perfect race or to run the perfect time. And so for me, it's just a matter of having that mental stability and knowing what I want during the race.
It's interesting too because there's elements of the race that influence the race, right? Like the speed of the pack or who gets out first. Sometimes you have to pace yourself or pull off, not waste your energy. So when you're going through that mental, what are you telling yourself? How do you know that you're in the right pace? How do you finish the way you want to finish?
I always, there's just one phrase that I always keep in mind, something my dad actually taught me, and he always told me, cover all moves. And that's the thing with the 800 is, you could go out, in 70 seconds and, that it could turn into a full-on sprint the last lap. Or you could go through an under 60 faster than you've ever ran and, you have to somehow finish in, a good time. So that's something I keep in mind the whole entire race. And beforehand, I just tell myself cover all moves. Whether I'm in the lead, whether someone's right next to me, whether I'm in the middle of a pack or boxed in, I just try to focus on myself, but also, saying that you're not going to focus on other people is also very unrealistic. So you have to, think about that during the race.
Helena High and just the city of Helena in general seems like a very vibrant middle sprints, middle distance, and distance running community. How much has that influenced you?
Oh, for sure. Actually, the Helena Vigilante Runners, I think they just changed their name, but Jesse Zenz was my high school coach senior year, as well as Sheila Williams and Linda Paul. But he is really just taken off with the whole running community. I mean, he really, if that would have been, there when I was younger, I can't even imagine. Also, his daughter, Odessa Zenz, is just having a, standout freshman year right now. And so I think has had a huge influence just on Helena in general in terms of the running community. So a lot of people are super appreciative for everything that he's doing.
Yeah, Jesse Zenz, former University of Montana track star, right?
Correct,
and,
yeah.
Sports editor of the Independent Record once upon a time.
Yes.
I worked with Jesse a lot, and he is actually one of the guys that taught me a lot about track back when I was first as a sports writer. So, and his daughter, that was I think that was a top 10 record or something, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
She just won it. She's
and that
only
was
14.
just one. Yeah, and that was just one of them. It's just the beginning, and that's what I keep telling her too. I'm like, it's just the beginning. It's all just, take it all in. But I think she just actually texted me a couple days ago and was like, yeah, I just ran I think it was the mile. Just ran the mile, just qualified for state, but I don't know if I'm gonna run it. I was like, okay, cool, nice job. So no, it's just, she's awesome though. I already told Vicky and Brian, I was like, are you guys recruiting her yet? Because, and obviously they can't yet, but they will for sure, and I know that.
Hannah, you competed at Big Sky for Hall of Fame track coach and Dan Nile, and we'll have him on Two Tall Nuanez later on this week as well. It's the Greg Rice City Meet this Friday, so this is going to be kind of a hub for track and field around the state. But that program, what sort of baseline, what sort of foundation do you think that set for you now and in your college career?
I think it's at a great building block for me because that program at a Big Sky, Dan now cares so much about track and field and cares so much about his athletes that in November of that school year, he comes up to you and goes, so you doing track this year? And it'll be just like a random kid in the school that he goes, you look like you could be a hurdler or a thrower, and he'll walk up to you, or he's a football player or whatnot, and he'll walk up and go, so you're doing track this year? And we're like, it's November. I mean, yeah, but okay. And it was an amazing atmosphere. It's a bunch of fun. My little sister's there right now. She's a junior, a thrower as well, and it's just kind of a legacy in our family as well, because my older sister was a thrower at Big Sky. Then she did a year here at the university as a thrower, and then now here I am, and my little sister is finishing out the legacy at Big Sky. But Dan, he's an amazing coach. He's a lot of fun. He knows what he's talking about. He knows every athlete that's on that team. There could be 60 kids to 150, and he knows everybody's name and knows how everybody did at the track meet, and it's amazing, and it makes you feel like you're important and makes you feel like you deserve to be there, no matter how well you did or not. He's always there, like, good job, you did great today. I think that was a really big thing, pushing me to do better, to be better, to get where I'm at today. And I even see him at track meets now, and he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm good. He's like, I saw you throw, it was awesome. Like, thanks, coach.
Erica talked about adding some events to her repertoire when you're doing multis. It's so interesting for throwers because you might do shot and disc in high school, but there is no hammer, there is no weight, and that's something you've excelled at so much in your college career. What were some of the challenges when you were learning those events?
It's a crazy event, hammer and weight. The footwork is so weird compared to all other throws because I did disc, shot, and jab in high school. And the footwork's completely different. There's in shot and disc, you can be a little more tense when you throw. You don't want to be, but you can be. But hammer, if you're tense, that thing's going to be a mess. You're going to mess up your body. And I found that out, unfortunately, my freshman year where I messed up my shoulder, and I still have some shoulder problems. But it's a completely different event, and it's a completely different mindset that I have to be in, which is something that I worked on through my redshirt year, was trying to get in the right mindset especially for this year, to throw a hammer and weight, because it's one crazy event.
When did it finally click for you?
Honestly, probably last week. It's crazy. It's a lot of work. It's really hard. It takes a lot of training and a lot of focus, and now that I'm in my 5th year of doing this, my body can't take all the repetition and being able to do that like I could the past 3.5, 4 years, where I could sit out at practice and be out there for 2 hours throwing hammer, just trying to get footwork down or my arm position correct or being relaxed or pushing in the right time or something like that. And whereas this year I've got about 20 throws every practice that I go out there, and that's the extent that I get to practice, or I'm going to have lower back pain or shoulder pain or knee pain or whatnot. So it's a lot of, as I like to say, mental toughness, trying to work on that event and trying to make sure that I've got everything down in the 20-ish throws that I get, because I mean I only get 6 in competition. So.
And in competition this year, in that specific event, you've hardly been pushed at all. I think you're out in front by 20 plus feet almost every single meet. I think there's only 2 females in the whole conference that have even thrown 180, and you've been over 200 consistently the last month or so. So what's the mental transition like, though, when you have been kind of so far out in front of everybody during the regular season, but now you're going to have some of the top throwers in the league here?
Well, the nice thing was is we got to go down to California for a week, and I was able to compete against some of those girls that I'll see at regionals in 2 weeks or so. And so it'll be nice to – that's also something I worked on during my redshirt season, was being able to push myself, even if people weren't. And so, like, I'm going out there to do my best no matter what anybody else does. But it was nice to be down in California and see some of the people that I'll see at regionals and having them push me, and not being that top dog that's everybody's chasing after, was being somebody that was chasing, which was really nice. And it's really good for that mental toughness that I've been working on. But yeah, it's just something that I worked on with my coach, and I've worked on with Brian the past year, was just working on that mental toughness and making sure that I can push my own self to go out and get the new school record, to go out and get a new PR, to go do stuff like that. So,
is there such thing as a home circle advantage?
I think so, because I mean I've been practicing in the ring all year long, and there's a lot of teams that are coming that have not even practiced or not even competed here once. So it's nice because I know the ring and I can feel the ring and I know the sector and everything. And I mean, I always do well with a big cheering crowd. So it'll be exciting to be here in Missoula.
ESPN Roundtable presented by Paradise Falls, joined by 4 members of the University of Montana women's track team: Hannah Filzer, Erica McLeod, Morgan Solser, Carly Schmidala, all 4 Montana natives. University of Montana competing this week, Big Sky Conference Outdoor Championships here in Missoula, Wednesday through Saturday. And Erica, you do so much more than just the multis. You're going to have to compete after the multis are done as well. So what's that transition like when you're sort of competing against yourself, against others, but then try to score points for the team and also compete in individual events? Is it hard to transition out of the heptathlon mindset into just doing individual things like the long jump or the short hurdles?
I just try to keep it as consistent as I can. I definitely get a little more nervous for the multi, and when that pent or hep is over, it's kind of a weight lifted off my chest, and so I feel a little more at ease going throughout the day. But I feel like I get more excited for those individual events. I mean, my favorite event to compete in here has been the 4x4. I look forward to that, and I've been so lucky to run with Carly and Olivia and now Jansen, and it's almost like a treat, I feel like, after the heptathlon, because I have those 2 days where I'm just kind of grinding through it and waiting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so it's just exciting to kind of get back out there in those individual events. And not that I don't have fun in the heptathlon, but I guess it's easier to relax into the individual ones.
Track and field is such a distinctly individual sport, but at the college level, such a distinctly team sport too. So I know this has been sort of a tumultuous spring for you guys, trying to get everybody healthy, get everybody to hit your peaks and hit your peak right now. What do you anticipate for this team competition? Do you feel like you guys can make a run at this thing?
I do. I mean, I think one thing that obviously isn't seen every weekend is we just have a lot of tough people on our team. And I'm like just inspired daily, I think, by the work ethic I see. I mean, just even when we knew we were going to meet with you, I was just thinking about these 3 and just kind of the things I've learned from them. And I mean, when I think of Hannah, I just think of like, she just shows up and she's consistent and she always gets the job done. And with Morgan, like, there's never any complaining, and same thing, just consistent and just works at it. And I don't know. I mean, we've lived together for 5 years too, and so I know her too on like a more personal level. But even with Carly, like, I've just never seen someone who like runs like with such heart, and it's just so like fearless, and it's been inspiring for me. I mean, she's 2 years younger than me, but it's been I'm gonna cry.
It's an emotional deal. It's a tough thing to be doing this for so long. You think like almost 10 years now. A lot of us, Carly not quite, but a lot of us have been doing this, and you think of all the relationships you've built and the time you've put into it and the highs and the lows. And I will never forget indoor our freshman year, Erica and I were both pretty much on the verge of tears, looking at each other like, what are we doing? How are we going to figure out how to do this for 5 more years? And you really lean on each other, and you, especially in college, you're not with your family every day, and you have to kind of find a new support system. And our relationship in particular has been really special from freshman year until now. So it's just, at the end of the day, and Carly and I talk about this a lot too, all the accolades and the achievements and the career you have as an athlete are awesome, but what we're going to take away from everything here is the relationships we've built and the things we've learned together as we've grown just as human beings. And that's something I would never, ever put a price on, so we're pretty lucky.
And Carly, on that aspect, what have you learned from competing with these girls?
First of all, I don't even know where to start because every day it's something, whether it be at lifts or, the track but I honestly, it's going to be a change of pace for sure when they're gone. And I don't know, and I mean, it'll be a good thing. It's like anything in life, times go on and you have to move forward. But it definitely is going to be different. It's just the presence, too, of just having, it's not just teammates. I mean, I've been on a lot of, different, teams with people where you get close to people, whatever, but it is, and I know this sounds cliche, but it's seriously a family. And it's, when I came to to college, I, you, like Morgan was saying, you do have to, you have to, it's your family. That's the people that you're going to be around. You're around your coaches more than you're around your parents. And so it matters, the relationships that you make with, your teammates, and these, especially Morgan and Erica, but a few others, they're sisters, and it really does become that, and you're spending so much time with them. And the things that, in the time that I'm able to spend with them, it's like, it really is just lessons. And, when I'm hopefully next year, and, next year I'll be redshirting, but I'll still be able to pass on a lot of the messages that they taught me and be able to get through things because of what they taught me. So I appreciate that.
Last question for you, Erica. What will constitute success this weekend for you on an individual basis as well as from the team perspective?
Oh, man. Kind of like Morgan said, the most thing I'm appreciative is those relationships I've built. And while I have been lucky to have some of these accomplishments, it really does mean nothing to me if it's not for these people surrounding me and the coaches I've been lucky to have, from our athletic trainer to our strength coach to Brian and Adam. It's really been just a very special experience for me. And I mean, as awesome as another win would be, I'm just going to go into it like I've gone into every other conference meet, just calm, cool, and collected, get through the week and weekend, and kind of be able to look back with a smile on my face and watch all of these guys do their thing.
My public service announcement, this thing gets kicked off 10 a.m. on Wednesday down at Dornblaser Field all the way through Saturday. If you're in Missoula, you're listening to this right now, go watch these young ladies compete, because this is going to be a tremendous meet. You're going to have 12 women's teams, 12 men's teams from all across the conference, hundreds and hundreds of athletes, some of the best people in the entire Western region. So outdoor track and field championships, first time it's been in Missoula since 2008. It'll definitely be worth going and watching. Hannah Fowler, Erica McLeod, Morgan Sulzer, Carly Smidala, ESPN Roundtable. Thanks so much for being here, girls.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you to those standout athletes. We got to get out. We got Anthony Knockrider talking sports gambling on the other side. 210 on the Nuanez, 129 ESPN Missoula.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
At Opportunity Bank of Montana, they've been helping people with home loans for over 95 years. They're still here for you today with local lending professionals, local servicing, and a full range of real estate loan options and programs. It's your home and they're your hometown lender. Contact an Opportunity Bank mortgage lender today or visit them at opportunitybank.com. Your local mortgage lender, your opportunity. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River.
Do you want $3 beers?
You're crazy!
Of course you do. Who doesn't want a $3 beer? For $3 microbrews and much more, go check out one of the best late happy hours in town at Paradise Falls, Sunday through Thursday from 9 until 11. Paradise Falls has $3 microbrews along with $6 apps, $2 domestics, and more. If you're in the mood for an evening cocktail or you just want to grab a beer, go to 3621 Brook Street, Sunday through Thursday, 9 until 11 to enjoy the best late happy hour at Paradise Falls.
I'm not crazy, I'm just thirsty.
Hey folks, Ryan Tutel here with Josh from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident and need help dealing with the insurance company, you should give The Advocates a call.
It doesn't cost anything at all to call, and I'd be happy to talk with you about your situation. You don't want to have to be dealing with contacting the insurance companies and setting up your claim. We can do that for you from start to finish. We'll take the hassle out of the process so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give Josh a call, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. There are a lot of lawyers, but you deserve an advocate.
Tutel Nuanez, 1029 ESPN Missoula, broadcasting to you live from the Chris Polaris Studios. Chris Polaris, 2904 West Broadway, Missoula, and Highway 83 in Sealy. Online at chrispolaris.com. If you want to check us out online, you go 1029ESPN.com. You can hit up Facebook /ESPN Missoula or SkylineSportsMT.com. We're late. We're always late. But now we're in it. We're going to go to the Rankage Brothers RV Hotline. Welcome in a good buddy of this show and great radio personality himself, Anthony Knockreiner from KGEZ up in Kalispell. Anthony, how we living?
Not too bad, man. But I gotta say though, we get to decide what time. So are we ever really late?
That's true. That is true. But I have a producer that screams at me all the time about how many spots we have to get through in this show. Let's get right into it since we are running short. You got a chance to talk to Senator Blaisdell the other day. He's a representative from the state of Montana in the Montana State Senate. And you talked to him about sports gambling. It's something that we've talked about on this show a couple times, and I'm kind of just in the middle. I'm kind of neutral on it. I think it's something that's going to happen. So I think that the fact that the state is going to generate some more revenue from it, I think that's a good thing, but I also understand just the tenuous nature of things like gambling. So what did you learn in interviewing one of the senators of Montana, and where are you at just with sports gambling?
I don't really have a problem with it. I mean, here's the deal with sports gambling. It's a personal choice. Like me, listen, I'm not a gambler. If I went to Vegas, you probably wouldn't catch me at the craps table. You might catch me at the blackjack table. But listen, I know how gambling works, and my grandfather gave me a great piece of advice when it came to gambling. If you have $20 that you can literally set on fire, then go ahead and gamble. And most of the time I don't do that. So I think it's fine. It's up to a matter of personal choice. I get some of the consequences of sports gambling. Obviously, there's gambling addiction, things of that nature that you kind of have to try and watch out for. But that's kind of life. There's a counterbalance to everything. If you do one thing, that if you eat a lot of sugar, you're going to be a little bit bigger, and you're going to have issues down the line if you just eat nothing but sugar and things of that nature. So I think there's a counterbalance to it all. But I am glad to see that we are going to have sports gambling. Whether or not it generates a lot of revenue is the question. I just don't know. I think a lot of people are probably going to look at it as just something to do for fun, bet $5 here, $10 there. But what I learned from Senator Mark Blaisdell is that, even though there was 2 bills up and it would have allowed competition had both bills been signed, the one bill that is signed is just going to be run by the state and run by the state lottery system, which is Interlot, a company from Greece. And so essentially, this company is going to be setting the odds, going to be setting the lines on everything that we bet. Now, we can bet on professional sports. College sports is still kind of murky. I know the NCAA has kind of recently lifted some bans, and I know I talked to him about, being able to bet Cat Grizz and being able to bet that game. That will happen, and being able to bet some of the Big Sky games as well. It'll be interesting to see what Interlot decides to do, because my kind of curiosity as well was, what about the Frontier? Are they going to set lines and odds for that? Would people bet on that? Because I think people are going to bet the Grizz and bet the Cats, given the opportunity if Interlot decides to set a line on a given game. I'd imagine they would. I would have no reason why they wouldn't, but it's something that we're just going to have to kind of see when they roll these kiosks out. And something that I've run into that a lot of people have asked me is like, okay, well, what happens when you get the one person? I'm sure, Coulter, that both you and I wish we could be that one person at one point in our lives when we bet the big odd and it comes up big for us and we make like hundreds of thousands of dollars on the bet.
Right.
What I found out there is that the state's not going to be responsible for that. What's going to happen is Interlot will be responsible for that. And so what will happen is similar, like if you win the lotto, you're just going to have to be patient. Your money will eventually get to you, but it's not going to be an immediate payout right then and there if it's a large amount of money. And so very interesting stuff with Senator Mark Blaisdell. But I think the biggest thing was just learning, okay, Interlot's going to handle these things. The taverns and the places that you can bet, if you win a couple $100 here and there, I think they'll be able to pay you out. But essentially, Interlot will be handling all payouts and handling all the odds and the lines for sports gambling when we get this thing eventually rolled out.
That's interesting. That is some new information there, because I was under the impression that maybe the Montana Lottery that was going to be regulating this was just going to take the straight Vegas lines. But there is actually going to be an entity in Montana that's setting its own lines. That's new. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and that's because I was kind of like you. I was wondering, okay, who's going to be setting this? Because the other bill that Governor Bullock vetoed would have allowed other companies, so like, MGM, other companies from Vegas that set sports books and that things of that nature, that would have allowed it to be in here in Montana. But because that bill wasn't signed, it's only the Montana State Lottery. Interlot's going to be setting all of that stuff up. And one of the counterpoints to that is, okay, well, what happens if Interlot sets the odds or lines a little bit more beneficial to the house, if you will, than say we see from the Vegas sports books? That's going to be something to kind of tell, because how close are the odds and the lines going to be versus some of the sports books we see down in Vegas? That's going to be something that's really interesting. And the timetable, too, because we could have essentially sports betting as soon as football season. That's the goal, essentially, with these kiosks. I mean, apparently they already have these kiosks with the Montana State Lottery. So the question is how much of an upgrade, how much of a program note does have to happen for sports betting to be on these kiosks? Do we have to see a widespread overhaul with these kiosks? That's going to be the interesting thing to tell going forward over the next 3 to 4 months as we get ready for football season.
Several interviews I've seen with Senator Blaisdell, both on your show and then on various news stations as well, he talked about sports gambling being prevalent in Montana already, and a lot of it being done on the black market. I thought that was interesting because I know that you can bet maybe behind the scenes on some Vegas sports books or whatever it might be. But also there's a couple international gambling platforms like Bovada and a couple others that I was under the impression are illegal. So did he go into any sort of in-depth on that, just kind of the prevalence of gambling in Montana already and where sort of the regulation and jurisdiction falls compared to maybe on the national level to the local level, and how maybe some of the state regulation fixes some of that stuff?
He really didn't get into too much of that because, I mean, he talked about the black market stuff like you mentioned in the aspect of, okay, we already got people betting, so why not we just regulate it, just bring it out in the open instead of having people going on the black market? I mean, we can already bet on horse racing. I mean, we saw with the Kentucky Derby, people were making bets. You can do that because Montana's already kind of grandfathered in and, wasn't barred from doing so. But I think the interesting part about it, the state regulations, both bills were kind of going through the DOJ for Montana. So Montana is still going to look at that and go through the DOJ and make the regulations and the rules. It is kind of interesting because, and I think those are still some of the details that we're going to see come out because Representative Lynch's bill, the one that was signed into law, I didn't see it, and again, it's a long bill. I didn't get a chance to read it myself, but getting into that aspect, the regulations of it, the rules of it, as far as I can tell, we're going to be allowed to bet on it. I'm not sure even what the age restrictions are, because that's another interesting point too. Like, okay, I believe as an 18-year-old you can or you cannot. I didn't see the age restriction, but that's something else too. There's still a lot of pieces to this bill that are going to be interesting to see fall out, because essentially we saw the bill get signed, but we really didn't get a list of rules of how this is going to go. Like, because this is another interesting point. If you're a high school coach or even a college coach, do you agree? Are you allowed to make a bet? Now, granted, I'm not talking about making a bet on the game that you're coaching in, but are you allowed to make a bet on a professional game or something like that? Didn't really see anything, and Senator Blaisdell really didn't get a chance to get into that with me.
Good stuff. Anthony Knockreiner, KGEZ, hosts the Knock On Sports. I know you got a show to do, and I got a break to get to. Sorry for being short and sweet with you, buddy, but a lot of good information there. We will circle back around with you, too. I want to catch up with you about some Northwest Montana high school sports, too, so maybe I'll get you on again next week while Ryan Tutel's still floating in the Indian Ocean down there in the Philippines. But thanks so much for joining us, man.
No problem, Colter. Always appreciate the time.
I appreciate it, Anthony. Tutel Nuanez, 129 ESPN Missoula. We got to get out. We're always late.
Alpine Touch is legendary around the state of Montana for providing delicious seasonings for every grilling occasion. Now, Alpine Touch offers so much more, from a savory new barbecue sauce to spicy pepper blends to tasty barbecue rubs. In addition to the classic, Alpine Touch has a variety of seasoning salts for whatever you need to spice up. Now that the holidays are over, Alpine Touch makes a perfect thank you gift to show your friends and relatives you love them. Alpine Touch, available at retail locations around Montana or online at alpinetouch.com. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
This Mother's Day, treat the Montana mom in your life to the Montana Club's famous Mother's Day buffet. She'll be dazzled as she savors everything from slow-roasted prime rib and glazed ham to fresh berry crepes and lemon bars. If mom wants to sleep in, bring her in later for our artfully crafted Mother's Day dinner specials like brandy peppercorn filet and steak and Maine lobster tail. Mother's Day buffet 8 to 2, followed by Mother's Day dinner specials 3 to close. The Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Hey everybody, here with my good friend Josh from the Advocates Injury Law Firm. Josh, if I've been in an accident, how much is it going to cost me to hire you?
Well, we take cases on a contingency fee. And what that means for you is that if you're hurt in an accident, we only get paid if you make a recovery. You'll never owe us anything out of pocket.
What about the call for a consultation?
That's not a problem. We don't charge anything for an initial consultation, so you have absolutely nothing to risk by calling us.
If you're injured in a car accident, call the Advocates, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com.
Les Schwab is proud to introduce 2 of our best tires ever just in time for summer. There's our exclusive open range AT that we believe is our quietest, smoothest, and best all-season traction tire ever. Or the Reputation, our exclusive high-mileage premium passenger tire. Get $50 off alignment when you purchase a set of 4 open range AT or Reputation tires. Book an appointment today at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires. Doing the right thing matters. Cannot be combined with other offers. Limited time only. See details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
Hey folks, the best season of the year is upon us. That's right, it's tax return season, and there's one place to have the most fun and make that refund check stretch further than anywhere else, Selway Armory. Selway Armory has the largest selection of firearms, ammo, and accessories of anywhere around, and they have the expertise to go with it. It's not everywhere that you can shop local and save money, but Selway Armory will meet or beat any box store price, and your money stays in Montana. It's tax return time, so get more bang for your buck at Selway Armory. Visit online at selwayarmory.com.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
It is Tutel Nuanez, but it's mostly just Nuanez. Actually, it's exclusively just Nuanez. Rolling through week 1 of 2 weeks without Ryan Tutel. Colter Nuanez here. Thanks for listening out there. 102.9 ESPN Missoula, SWX Television, and on our new YouTube stream. Go check it out. Tutel and Nuanez on the YouTube app or website, and boom, there we are. Go check us out if you want to watch me, see how big my head looks on TV. It's great. Thanks so much for doing it, Tommy Evans. Love it. If you missed anything in the show, you can find it in the podcast. Podcast is available on the TuneIn Radio app or on iTunes or on Spotify, or you can find it on the station website, 1029ESPN.com. Podcast available thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. Only got about 2 minutes left, but worth noting, this is the first day all week we haven't done the NBA. I didn't have anybody to rap with it about, but got to talk about the Warriors pulling out a win last night to go up 3-2 against the Houston Rockets, but also Kevin Durant suffering what looked like maybe a torn Achilles. The official report is a strained calf. No timetable on his return, but ironic that I ranked him as my number one player in the NBA in Sean Rainey and I's top 25 countdown yesterday, and then he goes down. I'm not a huge Kevin Durant fan, but I definitely do not wish him to be out of the playoffs because I just think that taints the entire narrative of the NBA playoffs. And, I know a lot of people don't like the super team that is the Warriors because of the addition of Kevin Durant, but Warriors are going for 4 titles in 5 years, a historic run in the NBA, and I hope they can go down swinging, not shorthanded. Tonight, pivotal games. The surprise of the playoffs last night, the Bucks knocking out the Boston Celtics. I was straight wrong. I agreed with Paul Pierce. I thought that the Boston Celtics were going to take that series, but instead Milwaukee wins 4 in a row. They're into the Eastern Conference Finals with a win tonight. The Toronto Raptors could eliminate the Philadelphia 76ers and move into the Eastern Conference Finals themselves. That game right after this, 6 p.m. And then at 8:30, the Nuggets versus the Trailblazers, and that's another pivotal game. Denver leads that series 3-2. Thanks so much for being with us. It was a fun day, as always, and check it out tomorrow. My main man, Regime Seabrook's going to come in, so we're going to listen to some soul music. We're going to talk about culture and a bunch of other deep subjects in America, and maybe we'll even touch on some sports as well. We'll also have updates for you from the Big Sky Conference Outdoor Track and Field Championships, as well as the Greg Rice City Meet that took place today at Missoula County Public Stadium. And we got one more $100 gift card for you from Soul Skin for Mother's Day. 2-Till and 1 is what's tonight, ESPN Missoula.
Good news. Missoulians can finally move into what